Welcome to the deep dive for this week. Don't forget to visit the website at deepdiveau.net. Check out our socials and Patreon page at the Deep Dive AU. Subscribe via your favourite podcast app or like and subscribe at our YouTube page at the Deep Dive AU.
The Deep Dive podcast mugs are now available for purchase and are currently on sale. Just go to our merchandise page at deepdiveau.net to purchase one. Don't miss out on this opportunity to grab one for yourself or as a thoughtful gift for a fellow podcast enthusiast.
This is the Deep Dive Podcast. And here is your host, Michael Coles.
Michael Clark has spent over a decade helping causes, businesses and people to grow their audiences and market themselves. He helps people know how to get the right message across to the right people using the right tools. Michael Clark, welcome to the Deep Dive.
I am delighted to be here, Michael Coles. It's a joy.
Okay, so what are the marketing strategies that cater to different neurodivergent communication styles?
Yeah, so with this, it depends. Are we talking about people who are neurodivergent and they're trying to get the word out about them? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, I think so. That's right.
Let's do that. So if I was neurodivergent, which let's be honest, we all are in the world. But anyway, if someone's neurodivergent, they want to communicate in a way that gets the word out about what they do with a lot of clarity, super clear. Here's what we do, here's what we don't do. And they want to make sure that they're putting everything, all the benefits of what they're doing in the other person's interest. So if I wanted to have a coffee with Michael Coles, I'd be like, hey, Michael, let's go for a coffee. And I don't say, let's go for a coffee because it helps me to have a friend. I say, let's go for a coffee because I know you love coffee and I'm free that day. Let's go have some fun together. And so what I'm doing is I need to frame it in terms of not what's in it for me, but what's in it for them. And that's at the core of marketing, whether someone's neurodiverse or not.
Okay, so how can neurodivergent entrepreneurs leverage their unique strengths to stand out in their industry?
Okay, so it's my opinion that never in history has there been a better time for neurodivergent entrepreneurs than today. Because in the past, if you go back 10 years, 20 years, the world loved people who were fairly good at a lot of things. Whereas the world doesn't want people anymore who are fairly good at a lot of things. The world is looking for specialists now. And you and I both know some of the best specialists there are people who are neurodivergent, who are very laser focused on their absolute extreme specialty. The world needs that because all the general skills the world can get now from AI or from just people in general. What the world can't do is specialize. And that's where neurodivergent people can often be right at the forefront. We're not looking for people who are good at lots of things. We're looking for people who are amazing.
Okay, so what are some ways to use storytelling as an effective tool for self-promotion while accommodating neurodivergent needs?
Storytelling? Well, storytelling can be helpful, but the catch with storytelling is you need to earn the right to tell the story. See, right now, I could tell you a story, Michael, about my sister, my dog, my daughter, my wife, but I haven't really earned the right by sitting down with you and having a coffee. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So where storytelling falls over is where we give information to people about what we do before we've built relationship. And even on a website, you want your website to give information about what you do before you start telling your story. So storytelling's useful, but storytelling's useful after you've built a relationship. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. So which social media platforms are most accessible and user-friendly for neurodivergent business owners?
Okay, so there's two parts to that question. What's easiest to use and what's going to get the result?
Okay.
So easiest to use, well, LinkedIn's very easy to use. And then things like Facebook are easy to use. But what's going to get the result generally is going to be LinkedIn. So you would use, say, Facebook if you're trying to market to business to consumer, business to customer, okay? Facebook, you're trying to find one person who's interested in what you're doing. The problem is it's very hard to do that successfully in 2025. But if you're wanting to use LinkedIn, you're going professional to professional, okay? So business to business, which is actually not that. It's professional to professional. And that's where, whereas on Facebook might bring you one sale, LinkedIn might bring you 10 sales or 20 because one person might recommend you to 10 or 20 people. So that's why if there was only one platform that someone who's neurodivergent was going to specialize in, I would recommend by a mile LinkedIn. On Facebook or wherever else, people can talk about their cat, their dog, their holiday, their cake that they made, but none of that generates sales for you. But if you're on LinkedIn, you can talk about your work, You work, you work, you work. And as long as you're giving good advice, specific, opinionated, helpful advice on LinkedIn, people will like that. They'll appreciate it and they'll want to engage with you. There's no other platform like it.
Okay, so how can scheduling tools and automation help neurodivergent individuals maintain a consistent online presence?
Yeah, good question. So you have days where you're winning the game. You have days where you feel a bit like life's getting on top of you. That happens to all of us. But the scheduling tools mean that if you're having a day where you just don't want to get out of bed that day, you just want to lie in and take it easy, that's fine because you've pre-scheduled stuff to go live for you. So say whether you're talking about, say, Facebook or LinkedIn or any platform, generally there's a scheduling tool where you can say, here's the content, I want it to go live at X o'clock on such and such a day. So if I look at, say, my LinkedIn, I'll often schedule for the next 2 or 3 days ahead. So it doesn't matter if, I don't know, if the internet disappeared for 3 days, everyone will still be learning stuff about what I'm trying to do. So scheduling is really important because it means even if you're having an off day, it doesn't matter. The other thing is when it comes to scheduling is I wouldn't be so focused on scheduling content. I would be focused on scheduling appointments. So for me, I'm someone who used to struggle to schedule appointments and keep appointments back when I was in my 20s. So now I have a paper diary where I keep track of stuff. I also use Calendly so other people can book in with me without me having to do the back and forward. But also, say for this conversation, before every appointment I've got lined up, I've got a reminder that goes off 3 minutes before and 5 minutes before. Because that way, if I miss one, let's say I'm not with my phone, I'll hear the other message. But I think rather than worrying about scheduling content, we need to be more worried about scheduling consistency as people, because not everyone in the world is as accepting of the fact that life is hard sometimes with scheduling. So that's why we use tools to do that.
Okay, so should a neurodivergent entrepreneurs try to sell a product or service?
So the question in that is, should they try to sell a product versus a service? I guess. Well, obviously, a neurodivergent person can do whatever they want because it's a free country, etc. But if you're going to do something for work, you want to do something that maximizes the odds being in your favor of succeeding. Okay, so the first thing I'd say is if someone's new to business, the first thing you want to do is get some mentors to coach you and help you. Okay, and we've all got people in our lives who are happy to help us. But then the second thing is, if you're going to go out on business on your own, well, find something that you can succeed at. I know a lot of neurodivergent people thrive on things like selling products on, say, Amazon or eBay, something like that. The problem is it suits our skills, but it's a very hard task because you're competing against people from all over the world at prices that don't leave enough profit to really succeed. So selling products is hard, even though it may suit our personality. Selling services, though, selling services is often the way to go because you've got the built-in flexibility. Let's imagine I started a gardening business today. I just need to get the word out there. And how much does it cost me? Maybe $500 of tools. And then I can go and I can start work. And there's a lot of flexibility there. So if you've got a young neurodivergent person looking to start their own business, I'd recommend a service as opposed to a product. But I'd actually recommend that whether the person's neurodivergent or not. I just think it's the easier path. But also selling a service, though, means that you're going to have days where you're just under the weather that day. It's not your best day. You're going to need the skill set of how do I reschedule that when I'm having a hard day. And that's fine. That can be learned, or you can build systems that do that. But yeah, I would recommend if someone's new to business, start by selling a service.
Okay, so why has being neurodivergent an enormous advantage of business in 2025?
It's such an advantage. It's like I was saying before about how in the past the world rewarded people who are fairly good at a lot of things. Well, those days are over. Now the world wants specialists. So for example, Michael, you are very good at podcasts and you're very consistent with podcasts and people get a lot out of your podcasts. That's a very narrow specialty. Okay. That's one of your massive strengths. The world doesn't need you to be good at 10 things. Just one thing is enough for you to be have a very big impact. And there are a lot of people who are neurodivergent who have a very deliberately narrow focus on something that they are awesome at. And that's where they unlock their superpower. So I know, for example, one person who's just an amazing web designer. Okay. In fact, when I don't know how to do something when I'm designing websites, because that's my job, making websites happen for people, but it's so complex. But there's one guy who I know, if I talk to him, he will fix it no matter how hard it is. Now, it's like the world needs people like that. And neurodivergent people are often those people, the people who have the specialist knowledge others don't have. So I would say that there's probably never been a better time in history because right now the world needs specialized skills, not general skills.
Okay, so let's imagine if someone has no experience in marketing at all. What were they put? What were they put on their website? What would they put on their website rather that would
Yeah.
show the world exactly what they do and its benefits, as they don't have
Okay.
to pay somebody else to be their so-called expert?
That's right. Okay. So the first thing is there's different levels of business growth. When you first start out, you do everything yourself. When you've got a revenue of maybe $15,000 a year, then you're willing to start paying other people to do what you need to do. Because sometimes if you pay someone $1,000 or $5,000 or say $100,000, right, you get that back 10 times over in the results they bring. Does that make sense?
Yep.
But when you're first starting, you don't have that luxury. So when you're first starting, the magic of being in the spot where you're starting out is you can ask people around you for help and they'll be happy to help. The other thing is if you were going to start a website yourself, I would recommend you use something like, say, Wix. I mean, it's fairly simple to use, but there's no problem you can encounter at Wix where YouTube won't answer for you. Okay, and then you can use ChatGPT or whatever to troubleshoot with you when you don't know how to do stuff. Something like Wix is very simple. Now, I don't use Wix because for me it's not what I use. I use much more high-powered stuff. But Wix works and it does the job. So plenty of people might start with a Wix website and then 3 years later when they've got a really big income from their work, then they'll go and find someone like me who can build something bigger and better. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
But no one's looking for a website that's perfect. Everyone just wants a website that tells me what do they sell, why do I want it? Like, what is it about what they sell that's useful? And then here's the magic for the neurodivergent people. On your website, you want to demonstrate subject matter knowledge, a skill set that not everyone's got. And what you want to do is, say if you're selling pizzas, you put up a whole lot of information about what's on your pizzas, why you choose this brand of salami, how long your pizzas should be cooked. And you throw that information out there and you give away, if you're making pizzas at home, here's how you make the best pizzas. You use these ingredients and you use this temperature and you give your knowledge away and you show the world what's out there. Now, you can't just throw it out at them like it's words going out of fashion. It needs to be well organized in the right pages, in the right segments. But you give away that knowledge and you stand out as someone who's knowledgeable. Now, most people I know who are neurodivergent are very happy to give away their best knowledge. In fact, they're delighted to. So again, there's a massive advantage there. So I would say have a very clear website, everything categorized, never have paragraphs more than, say, 3 sentences long, have immensely more subheadings than you think you should have, all that stuff. Have real photos, not fake ones of someone in America. Have a real photo of you in your backyard. But give it a crack, but then get other people around you to give you advice because they're happy to help you. Okay, but pick tools that you can use, something like Wix.
Okay, sounds good. So what are some effective ways to build an effective online community without feeling overwhelmed by constant interaction?
Yeah, well, it's a choice to look at the phone messages or not. It's a choice to interact with the buzz that comes through. So for me, I like to live with my phone on silent, and I like to switch off all my messages when I'm busy doing life. So we've got to remember, this thing is not your boss. You're the boss of this phone, not this phone's the boss of you. So if someone wants to interact, unless they're actually having a triple O level emergency, it can wait. And if they are having triple O level emergency, I don't think calling Michael Koala is the solution. Okay, so we need to remember we're in control of our tech. Now, it's very hard to do that because we get excited about it. I'm someone who just loves the dopamine hit of having someone send me a message. Hey, Michael, I love that, but it's not helpful. It's not conducive. So I would recommend if someone was worried about feeling overwhelmed, have set times where you're willing to check your phone if you want, and then have all your messaging off at the other times. If the new clients or customers that are going to come to you are only going to come to you if you respond straight away, they're not good clients. You don't want them. So I reckon just remember that you're in control of the messaging, not others. And things like pre-scheduling, or like we were talking about before, means you don't even have to log on. So just remember you're in charge of your own time and don't let the phone tell you what to do.
Okay. So what are the best networking strategies for neurodivergent entrepreneurs who struggle with traditional networking events?
To be honest, I think you'd be surprised, Michael, how many neurotypical people struggle at traditional networking events. I think there's a very small number of people who like them. I think most people are dragged along to them because they feel they have to go. Okay, networking events have as much joy as an in-laws Christmas party for a lot of people. And I think we need to realize that there's not something wrong with you if you don't like those networking events. You're actually in the majority. So if you don't like networking events, you got to go, what's your goal? If your goal is to get word out about what you do, well, you can do that on a website. You can do that on LinkedIn. LinkedIn's the perfect place to go and put out what you do. Here's the magic of LinkedIn, Michael. If someone has a paid account, and I'm pretty sure on LinkedIn the first month of a premium upgrade is free anyway. If someone has a paid account, they can reach out to 120 connections in a week. So you can go from no audience to 4 weeks later, you've reached out to 500 people and 40% of them said yes. So you've now got an audience of 200 people who may see your work. So that's networking. Networking isn't going to some barbecue you don't want to be at. Networking is achieving the objective of having others know you exist and you've got something worthwhile to say. So if I was in a spot of if I was neurodivergent and trying to get the word out about what I do, I'd use LinkedIn, but I'd also have a website that was really clear and really thorough about what I do. And then on LinkedIn, when people ask me questions, I'd answer their question and I'd also refer them back to the website to get a longer, more detailed perspective.
Okay, so how can neurodivergent business owners find and connect with like-minded collaborators?
So what would be the purpose of connecting with a like-minded collaborator? It depends on your goal. What sort of situation are you imagining there, Michael?
Well, basically, if it's sort of like, if there's there's a particular podcast that like the big the deep dive podcast, for example, and then they sort of connect with that, and they can connect with a whole range of neurodivergent sort of entrepreneurs and creators and all that type of thing. So we're creating a network there.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so we want to be able to create a network with other people who can support us and who we can support. They may or may not be neurodivergent. Okay, there's plenty of neurotypical people who we can help, and there's plenty of neurodivergent people who we can help. So the first thing is to view community for what it is. It's not people who are identical to us. It's people who are different to us. Now that's not comfortable because I don't know about you, Michael, but I'd rather spend my time hanging out with someone like you. You're about the same age as me. You obviously love a lot of the things that I love. We would get on so much more than if I had to work with someone my grandmother's age. Okay, because I've got more of a natural rapport with you. So we want to keep in mind that networking and building relationships for business is not about finding the people we have rapport with. It's finding the right people who we can help and who can help us. So your question of how would you build a network of other neurodivergent people who match you and match what you need and stuff, I would suggest it's not one network, it's 20. Okay, people would be crazy to not be part of your podcast because it's so helpful and you've got so many people who you can connect with people with if they get stuck in life. And people would be crazy to not ask me questions if they had, I don't know, questions about how to do a website. You'd be crazy to not ask a mechanic if your car's not working. Okay, like we need these multi-networks, not just one network. But I think what you're actually touching on is friendship. We need friends we have rapport with. So I would choose you, Michael, as a friend over the lady who's my grandma's age. I would choose you as a friend over, I don't know, someone who's 10 years younger than me and doesn't even like soccer like I like soccer, okay? We need friends. So this is really important. We don't want to get our lives all about our work and our business. It's just one little part of our life. We've got our work, which is effectively our income. We've got our social time. We've got our downtime, our relaxed time. We've got our exercise and health time. We've got that part of us that might be a spiritual part of someone where they go to church or whatever they do that's spiritual. And then we've got like our family. Like we've got all these different components and there's this little, it's like the whole world is yelling at us. The most important component is your work time. No, it's not. The most important time is your non-work time. So I think in what you're saying, it's good to have a network around you, neurodivergent or not. But what's really important is to have friends. Now, making friends is hard as hell for anyone. I'm 40-something. I find it so hard to make friends compared when I was in high school. So, yeah, so making friends is really about planting seeds that you won't harvest for another 2 or 3 years. Because people start out as like loose friends, and then gradually they become real friends, and then one day they become close friends. And that really takes generally at least 12 months. So my recommendation for someone who's asking that question would be, yes, build those networks, and it's important, but even more important, build friendships and choose to be a help to people who might one day become your friend, because that's more important than work.
Okay, so what are some alternative ways to engage in business networking that doesn't rely on in-person or verbal communication?
I would use LinkedIn. I would have a great website and I would use LinkedIn for most businesses. Now, it's different if you've got a pizza shop, okay? If we're professionals working in a hard to get into industry, LinkedIn is obviously the way to go. If we're professionals talking to other professionals, LinkedIn is the way to go. If you're selling pizzas, no one cares. If you're selling pizzas, the sign up the front of your place, we sell pizzas. They taste good. That is your marketing for you. Always your website needs to be the most important thing, because your website is it's your asset. You built it, you keep it, and over time it becomes more and more valuable, because the longer a website exists, the more seriously Google takes it and the more willing Google is to show it off to others. So your website front and center. If you're in some sort of professional capacity, LinkedIn. If you're a gardener or someone, you're probably not going to find much work on LinkedIn, although what do you lose by trying? Go and stick some posters up at the shops. The best thing for a question like this would be go and ask 3 people their opinion. How do I get the word out about what I'm doing? And then whatever they say, weigh it up and then go and give it a crack. And if it doesn't work, go and ask someone else. Okay, so life's just like, give it a crack, Michael. Sometimes there aren't formulas. It's nice when there are formulas. A lot of the time in business, there aren't formulas. There's just go and ask a few people their opinion and then give it a crack.
Okay, so how can neurodivergent people create content that feels authentic while accommodating energy fluctuations?
Yeah. Well, I guess it comes down to a few things. I guess one of the things is, when are you at your best? I'm not at my best on a Friday afternoon. It wouldn't make sense for me to book a time to sit down with you, Michael Cole, on a Friday afternoon. I wouldn't be at my best. Okay, so you choose when you work. But also the flexibility is like, well, you don't have to stick with an appointment that's not going to work. Let's imagine, Michael Cole, if I was going to come to you today, but I was not in a good state. I'm much better off cancelling the appointment and rescheduling, as long as I do it in a professional way. I go, hey, Michael, I'm really sorry, I can't do this afternoon. I am not in a good spot today. Would it be possible to reschedule for Thursday or Friday? And so then I'm not just cancelling like a Slack person who doesn't care. I'm cancelling, but also providing a solution. Hey, this hasn't worked out the way I'd planned. My day hasn't gone to plan. I'm really sorry. Could we reschedule Thursday, Friday? Can you send me a calendar link? We don't have to feel like we're on a treadmill. We're not on a train track that we can't get off. If something's not working, we can change it. But then the other thing is our energy does go up and down. So we don't want to leave ourselves without mentors, Michael. So I've got mentors who speak into my life, and everyone I know who's successful in business world or in sports world or whatever world, they've all got mentors. And a mentor doesn't need to be someone that you pay $500 an hour to give you advice. A mentor could be as simple as someone who actually cares about you, who you take them out for lunch, and you don't go to Macca's, you go to a cafe, you take them out for lunch, just ask them some questions. Most people are happy to help us. But without mentors, we get stuck in life. As soon as we're isolated, we're stuck. Now, I know most of what I'm talking about has nothing to do with marketing or websites or anything like that, but it doesn't matter who you are, what job you're in, you need other people. I need other people. And you need other people you can be real with. Everyone on the planet needs 3 people that they can be real with about things that are hard to talk about. Okay, so if someone, let's imagine someone, they go, I can't talk about that with people. It's like, no, you can't talk about that with everyone, but you need 3 people who you trust you can talk to about that. So I think, Michael, the importance of having mentors, which are hard to find, but when you find one, you treat them like royalty and you don't overuse them. But people are a resource. They're happy for you to see what you can learn from them, stuff like that. So I think sometimes we don't value ourselves enough to find mentors. Well, oh, they wouldn't want to talk to me. Well, guess what? If you don't ask them, they don't want to talk to you. But if you ask, they might surprise you.
Okay.
So I think, yeah, that's useful.
Yeah. So what are some ways to use visual, written, or audio content to communicate ideas more effectively?
There's so many ways you can use visual, written, audio. It's like, just give it a crack. Don't try and be a perfectionist. Oh, I must have video on my website. Oh, I must have written content on my website. Oh, I must have, the audios for the video. People try to be everything. Now, this is where, as neurodivergent people, we want to be specializing. If you're really good at video, do a lot of video on your website and then just get it transcribed or put it through AI or something to get the written transcript, because you're good at video. Or if you're terrible at video and you really fear cameras, well, just write. But focus on what you're good at. Don't try and be everything. Just communicate in a way that's the real you. Okay. The other thing is, when you communicate, you're not communicating to others for your benefit. You're communicating to others for their clarity of what you're offering. So it's one thing for me to say, oh, just write in the way that suits you or whatever, but take what you've written, Get someone who's on your side who cares to read over it and ask them what their feedback is. Often they'll say, you need to be more concise. You're using 1,000 words instead of 100. Often they'll say, look, this is off topic. People don't really care about that. But there's a level of humility that we want to have in terms of taking what we want to do, putting it out there in the world, being open to people's feedback and learning from them, and being okay that our first effort or even our 10th is not perfect. But I would suggest just have a crack, Michael. Don't aim for perfection, just have a crack.
Okay, so how can neurodivergent business owners develop a personal brand that feels manageable and sustainable?
I would forget about personal brand. I would worry about just talking the truth.
Okay.
So I know that's a bit random. Like, people talk about personal brand. In other words, they talk about how do you want people to perceive you. Who cares how they're going to perceive you? You tell the truth about what you can do. If you're a gardener, you're like, I will turn up to your place. I will solve any gardening issue you have. It'll be $50 an hour. Have a nice day. Or if you're the pizza shop person, you're like, you know what? My brand is what it is. I do the best pizzas I can. And on the front of your store, you might go, I just make the best pizzas I can. You're not worried about the colors. You're not worried about the logo. Branding is basically what happens when you have a group of people and they're trying to put out the same image. If you're one person, you've already got the same image. Just be the sort of person that you want that others would respect. Choose to be on time, choose to be organized, choose to be reliable, choose to give it your best crack. And I wouldn't worry about personal brand.
Okay, so what are some assistant technologies or productivity tools that can help neurodivergent individuals with self-promotion?
Number 1, ChatGPT. Number 2, ChatGPT.
Okay.
There's not much that ChatGPT doesn't do well. Now, whatever it produces, it will still sound like a robot produced it. I look at a lot of people's websites and I'm like, ChatGPT wrote that. They didn't even read over it. It's got all the buzzwords like showcased and personalized with a Z and all that stuff that just says ChatGPT. There's a difference between producing a hyper-polished product and just using something day-to-day for your own benefit. I use ChatGPT when I have questions about how to do things, and I use it about 5-10 times a week. I'm not ashamed of that because I'm not God. Okay, I don't know everything. I need a robot to tell me the answer to a hard question. I had to fix an air cooler, evaporative air cooler on my roof. I had no idea how to do it. I got up there and I felt like a goose. So I asked the ChatGPT robot, how do I solve this? It talked me through it. Now, there's no reason why ChatGPT can't talk you through things like scheduling your shopping, organizing your shopping list, writing a text that you feel nervous about writing an email you feel nervous about writing. You can't just trust what it produces. It's just a robot, okay? Don't trust a robot, but it gives you like the first draft of life. So if I was looking for assistive technologies in 2025, I'd say ChatGPT all the way.
Okay, so how can business owners with executive function challenges or dysfunction set up marketing systems that require minimal upkeep?
Tell the truth. Always tell the truth. So when it comes to marketing, a lot of people get caught up in, I want to look glossy, I want to look like a professional, and they try to look bigger than they are, Michael.
Mm.
If I'm looking for a gardener or a pizza shop, I don't care if he's leading a team of 30 gardeners or if he's the bloke who lives next door and he's 14. I don't care. I just want my garden fixed.
Mm.
Okay? And a lot of people on their websites they go and have a look at the Woolworths website or they look at the Coca-Cola website and go, oh, mine must look like that. No, it doesn't. Yours must tell the truth, ideally succinctly, like nice and short to the point, be full of really helpful information, but just speak the truth. Don't worry about looking like the big guys. Just be you, because the world's already got the big guys. You just go be you. You'll be amazed at results.
Okay, and the last question I like to ask every single person here on the Deep Dive podcast, in 30 seconds or less, what would one piece of advice be to all of our listeners?
Off the topic of marketing and onto the topic of personal life, I've been a director of companies before. I talk to directors of companies every day. I promise you their life is not good. Their life is exhausting, and the very thing that you're wishing your life was, it's not worth going there. They're constantly on the phone, they're constantly interrupted, their family life is hard. So my recommendation would be to not make life about the quality of your work, make life about the quality of life. Work is just a component of your life. For me, I want to have the best possible marriage. I want my wife on her deathbed to be like, gee, I'm glad I married Michael. I couldn't have got a better deal elsewhere. I want my kids to be like, I'm glad that Michael was my dad because he really loved me. He really spent time with me. I couldn't have got a better deal elsewhere. I want my friends to know that they can call me anytime because I'm on their side. you couldn't ask for a friend who's more loyal. I think the most important thing, Michael, and this is counter the advice we'll get from everyone else on the planet, is be good at work, but be great at life.
Okay, and that's one piece of great advice. Michael Clark, thank you very much for being part of the Deep Dive today.
It's been great seeing you. And if anyone has specific questions, they can find me at athletickoala.com.au. Just fill in the contact form and say that you heard about me on Michael Cole's Deep Dive podcast. Happy to help. It's Athletic Koala.